how do you set yourself up to get in the pocket when you're on stage? Like if you could remember the times where you're like, man, I was just in the zone, the flow, the pocket. Was there a process for getting in there that day or that hour before or that week that allowed you to get the best possible chance? Because obviously you got the energy of the crowd, you got to deal with other situations, but for you to be in there where it's just like, man, everything is landing. What does that process look like?
You can never, even on your like best day, we're like, man, I'm firing hot all day. Wait till this happens on stage. You can still bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wait, where did that come from? And then on days where you're like, I'm not feeling it, I don't want to go to the club, and then you have like the best set of your life. The only, on the road, I have a little bit of a schedule. I like to work out around 4. I like to take a nap around 5:30. I like to wake up at like 7. I like to start drinking coffee around 7:30. I don't have coffee all day long. I like to have it right before I go on stage. That's really helpful.
Really?
Yeah, a cup of coffee is really helpful. I heard nicotine really helps too. A lot of my friends are all using nicotine before they go on stage or while they're on stage. But I'm not going to do that. But coffee right before I go on stage really helps. I have little things that I do, like so if I'm pretty thick in an hour, like say 16th month into an 18-month run of getting ready for an hour, I like to get drunk or high when I go on stage, like pretty lit.
Why is that?
Because it's nice to fuck up what is a very rote material, like material that you've been doing.
Oh,
This is my beginning. This is my thing.
interesting.
It's good to be a little fucked up and be in a club, not in a theater, but be a little fucked up and screw things up because it forces you to think on the fly and it forces you to rethink things that were like it's almost like painting blind and then taking the blindfold off and going, oh, well, what is that? As some of my best bits were bits that were doing just fine, and then I tried them once drunk and they go sideways, and then I'm like, wait, I gotta fix that on the fly, and then I go, wait, if I took this bit, and you're thinking, it's forcing you in the moment. Yeah, I like to do that. But for the most part, I really enjoy, this is gonna sound not like the answer anyone wants to hear, but I like a little structure, and I don't like to be drunk on stage. I like to be sober on stage. I like to have coffee on stage. I don't mind having a drink on stage, but to go on stage drunk's never like a winning recipe for me.
Right. And how do you keep your confidence up? And how do you build the confidence, keep it up if something's not going your way on stage?
Oh, that's part of the, I don't know if this is fool's gold, but like you kind of need things to not go right on stage to know you're going in the right direction.
Really?
Yeah, anyone who's killing every time they go on stage they're not taking enough chances.
They're not risking.
Yeah, you got to risk things, and you got to fail, and you got to fail epically at times, and you got to fail like it took me like a solid year to get the machine story to work at all.
You kept trying, and it just wasn't working.
Dude, we're talking about this is back when I toured clubs, so we're talking about 6 shows a weekend, working 40 weekends a year. And then at the end of that year, I kind of got it where it started working.
Because you're doing what, 10, 15-minute segments?
No, I was doing an hour.
An hour, 6 times a weekend.
6 times a weekend.
Holy cow. And it wasn't for a year, it wasn't landing.
Wasn't landing.
Why do you keep doing it when you know?
Because you know it's there. You know it's there. Even though it's
bombing every time, or there's no laughs.
There's always something where you go, this has got, like I had a joke about Confederate statues that I'm still never told on a special, but it was I knew there was something there. I didn't know what the joke was, but I knew there was something there. And it was like 9 different ways of racist before it got to work. But I knew something was there. And when I finally solved it, I went, I got it. And it's a great joke. It's a great joke. And if it is anything, it's very progressive. But you got to figure out the ones that, you got to just break the eggs to make the omelet. You can't just make an omelet with no shells anywhere.
Is there any joke that you've thought was there that you haven't figured out yet over the years?
Oh yeah. Oh, there's a bunch. There's a bunch.
And do you still feel like it could be there?
Oh, there's one I figured out last week in Austin that I've been chewing on for like 10 years.
Come on, 10 years you've been thinking about it.
10 years. And then
you try it every now and then, once every couple of years?
I got it, and it would get like a smack. The statement in and of itself was working, but nothing around it was working.
The punchline was working, you mean, or like?
The concept. The concept was was there. I just couldn't figure out how to tell it. And it was based on a true story. And I couldn't figure out the thing. And I'd always had it. And I remember I said it to Segura one time, and he laughed hysterically. He's like, "Is that a bit?" I was like, "No, but I said it at a Chinese New Year's party, and it killed when I said it." And then I told him the story, and he goes, "Shut the fuck up." And he's like, "Are you doing that?" I was like, "I can't get it to work."
Because you tried it in a club.
I tried it, and it just came off. You got to find, there's sometimes with some jokes, especially, anything a little edgier, you got to find the lubricant to get it there. And you got to find the friendliness. Like, I had another joke. There's two jokes in this new hour that one I wrote probably, the child that it happened to now has a kid. So it had to be like probably 13 years ago. 13 years ago, I had an experience with this child. And he's now an adult. He has a child. He's bigger than I am. And I had an experience with him 13 years ago that made me giggle. And I knew the word that he used to talk to me. And then my wife one day said something about how she had dated a cousin and found out at a family reunion. And I was like, huh? And she said something that made me laugh. Like, what her dad said to defend it was hilarious. And then I was like, oh, if I can marry, oh, okay, I'm gonna tell these as one. So you just, it's almost like keeping like really good notes about your ideas, and then going back and going like, oh, that can work now, or I'm a better comic, and now I can get that to work. That's a lot of it. Is like
you've got more reps now.
You become a better comic, and you can figure this. There was a story that happened to me. When I was 25 years old. That was just a hilarious story. It was a simple interaction, a phone call, and that was it. I tried telling it 25 years ago, and nothing. And the other night I told it in Austin, and Mark Norman came up to me and goes, "That's the best story I've ever heard you tell."
Come on.
Swear to God.
Now, is it a better story because you told a better story, or is it because you are who you are? People love you, they know you, they think it's funnier because you've got the platform and the specials and the movie, and you're just a funny guy.
I think you get more confidence on stage. I think it's exactly as funny as it was 25 years ago. It's the same story, hasn't changed at all.
It's more your energy that you bring to it.
I think it's your energy, and I think your confidence. Like, look, if you watch Dave Chappelle, who's the greatest at what we do, he's changed. He's grown as a comic to now he can open his show singing Prince. You open a special quoting Prince, and you're just like, whoa, that's amazing. Whereas maybe if he did it 20 years ago, you would have been like, what are you doing?
Right.
Yeah, I think I remember Louis saying that. You become a better comic, and then you look at bits that you couldn't get to work, and then you're like, oh, I can get that to work.
Interesting. So is building confidence for you all about the reps, or is there other ways to build confidence, especially in the world of comedy?
I think it's about the reps. I think it's about getting confident on stage and being really comfortable on stage. I think as a young comic, I came in going like, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that. And then I got older and I was like, oh, I don't need to be that guy. I can be a guy who tells you just what his life's about and talks about his own personal experiences.
Yeah. There's some great people that do that on stage today. In your mind, and I don't want you to single anyone out because I know there's lots of great comics, and people just in comedy, but who are 2 or 3 that really inspire you today, or maybe that resonate with you in a special way today?
Well, I mean, David Tell's my favorite comic there is. David Tell's the best comic I was talking to Segura about him last night, and he was like, he's in Austin, and I went down, and he goes, I just went down to watch him. He was like, and I said to him, I forget how great you are. And I'm on tour with Dave on Fully Loaded, and I do it because I like watching him. His brain is so different than anyone's, and he's such a master at our craft. Chappelle's, I mean, it's hand in hand as those two. Chris Rock's the reason I got into comedy.
Really?
Yeah, Bring the Pain. Oh my God. And then there's a ton of other ones, that are fantastic. Bill Burr's brilliant. I mean, he's brilliant. I mean, legit brilliant. Like there's no and there's a ton more. I mean, Nate Bargatze, Mark Norman, Shane Gillett. There's dudes younger than me that I go, watch out. These guys are monsters.
Wow.
Yeah. And you like, Nate Bargatze can get you to laugh about eating, like he can tell you about eating a cracker and you cry laughing.
What is the thing that that you're the most proud of that maybe a lot of people wouldn't think you're that proud of, or they don't know about? Something maybe that you don't talk about too much that you're really proud of, whether you do or you've done or you haven't done?
This is so stupid. So sometimes sometimes you see something you did and you go, oh, I forgot. Like I'm pretty funny. Cause you forget, like you do it, you do a special or you do a movie and I did this thing called What Will the Maid Think when I was working on Travel Channel. I would leave hotel rooms.
The maid, what would the maid think?
What will the maid think? It was a hashtag I'd use. And I'd leave hotel rooms in interesting fashions. I'll show you some on my phone. And every now and then I'll see one and I'll go, I forgot that was me.
Huh.
Like that's legit funny. That's legit funny. And I would do it and I would make myself giggle and then I would laugh throughout the day about it. And I'd leave a hotel room, like I'd leave a nice tip, but I would laugh hysterically. And so every now and then I see it and I go,
what would the maid think?
What will the maid think? And I see them and I go, and I forget, oh, that's me. So like, I'm going to show, okay, this was the very first one I ever did, okay? Very simple.
Oh my God.
I just put my shoes behind the curtain and left.
Holy cow.
Right? Every now and then I go, I'm so self-promoting, so much, especially with all these projects, that every now and then I'll see something like that will show up and I'll go, sometimes I was just funny just for funny's sake.
Right.
Like sometimes, like some of the most brilliant things are the things that no one really knows about, but you did it for yourself.
Mm.
I look at that and every now and then I go, I was just a funny dude. Like a really
organically funny guy.
Yeah, like when I talk to my friends from college and they tell stories about me, the ones that I'm not telling everyone else, like
you're just doing it.
Yeah. Like it was, I remember we had Theta homecoming and we were in chapter. And so they told us the other night, they were like, do you remember when you got kicked out of Theta chapter? And I was like, yeah, I definitely remember. The president said, we got homecoming coming up, but I made a joke and everyone laughed. And he was like, hey, we're trying to get through this for real. Theta homecoming. And I made another joke. And he goes, hey, I'm being dead serious. I hear one more joke about Theta or homecoming and you're out of here. And it's quiet. And he sits down. He goes, all right, are we ready to start? And under my breath, I go, 2 Thetas walk into a bar. And the place, and I was like, but you forget about these, like when you were genuinely funny, not for a TV show, not for social media, not just being funny, and everyone's doubled over, and it was just for that group. Those are the times where I like, when like people tell stories about me that I grew up with or from something, and they're like, do you remember that? And I'll be like, oh man. That's what, like, I saw that, what will the maid think? And I was like, and I did it and I just posted it. I just would never, there was no viral thing when I was doing that. Travel Channel hated it. And I
think you should bring that back.
Well,
I like that. Bring that back to Instagram.
Man, when I was good at it, I was good.
Oh man, I like that a lot.
I was good.
That's a good.
I haven't done it in forever.
Dude, you got to bring that back. This tour.
What happened is the hotels started expecting it. So I get to my room and there'd be 30 towels, 45 pillows.
Oh, wow.
A ton of toilet paper. They'd be like, leave us something. And then I'd be like panicked.
Anxiety of like, how do I outdo the last one?
And then they started doing it to me. I'd get there and my bedroom would be replaced by a whitewater rafting raft. And they'd have mannequins all over my room.
Kind of cool.
It was
it's good content now, though.
Yeah. Caverns of the Winds, I think. Yeah, that happened.
I mean, that should be on this next tour.
I
wish. Next tour.
I live in a tour bus now.
Right.
I'd be doing it to myself.
I'm curious about, there's so many great comedians that bring laughter and joy to the world, but there must also be a dark side to comedy or to comedians. There must be pain that comedians go through, suffering, sadness, loneliness, insecurities, doubt. Can you speak about the dark side of comedy, if there is that?
I mean, look, I don't want to dictate how people think about comics, but I think there's something inherent in every comic where he or she felt like a little bit like an outsider looking in. maybe a little bit of bullying that happened.
They were bullied.
Yeah, they were bullied or they felt like an outsider. I always felt, I still in this business always felt like an outsider.
Really?
Yeah, I never had like industry like praise. Like the industry was never, when I was young, I was never on the top 10 comics to watch. I was never given the half-hour Comedy Central special when everyone got them. I kind of always had to make my own way, which I think is inherent in every comic. You feel like you have to make your own way. And I think everyone, I don't know if I have like a real sincere darkness. I don't think I do. But I know I deal with anxiety and I deal with like a little bit of OCD, and I'd say depression, but not really. Like not someone who's watching now and goes, I have it. And I go, I don't have that. I was bullied, a fair amount as a kid. Just regular back school then, like 1980s bullying that happened. And, but I think every comic has a little bit of an outsider's view, I think. And that's why they're funny, is they see things a little bit differently than everyone. And you don't want your kids to go through it. You don't want any kid to go through it. But sometimes you'll see a kid going through stuff and you'll be like, that kid's going to be a great comic.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Where you're like, so hate. Like, I mean, I remember, and it's just like, just little things that set an example on you where you're like, here's how we're dealing with life. Like, I had closing ceremonies for Little League Baseball, and I did make the All-Star team that year. I was young. That year I was young. I was in the young kids group. And there was an All-Star game that day. And the coaches were like, hey, we need your uniform. And I was like, huh? He was like, you turn in your uniform. And I was like, I'm not keeping this? And he's like, no, we keep them. Turn it in. And I was like, I don't, all I have is a Speedo on. And he was like, oh, that's what you're wearing. And so then for an entire All-Star game, I had to watch an All-Star game in a Speedo, knee-high socks, stirrups, cleats, a glove, and a hat. And I was Magic Mike. And I was like...
And you're like, what, 6 or 7 years old?
8. And
They wouldn't let you take it home, bring it back
8.
tomorrow?
I might have been 10 because I wasn't 11. 11's when I got my teeth knocked out, and I was on the All-Star team that year. I was 10 years old.
How did not let you take it home?
I just sat there, and I had to watch a whole All-Star game. I sat in the toilet by myself in the bathroom at Forest Hills Baseball, and I sat there just like mortified that I was like, no one else is wearing Speedos. No one else is wearing this outfit. And I'd walk around and people were like, what's up with this? And I'd be like, what's up? How you doing? And I think that you don't want that for your kid.
No.
But if you want your kid to be a comedian, you need to have a couple of those.
Moments. Do you think if comedians in general went to therapy consistently, worked on healing the traumatic events from the past, would they be funnier or would they be less funny?
No, you'd be funnier. It's stuck on you. It's stuck on you forever. I've made my therapist literally spit coffee out of his nose. And then I write it down. I'm like, I'm talking about that on stage.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's stuck on you forever. The way you see the world is different, especially when you're a comedian. Once you become a comedian, your brain shifts into a different parallel universe where everything's a joke. Everything's a joke. You're looking for the joke in just about anything. You're at a funeral and you're thinking, what's funny about this? I mean, my grandmother was dying. She was having congestive heart failure, and I'd never seen my uncle or my dad cry. And they called me up and they're like, yo, grandma's dying. And I was like, okay. And then I come over to the hospital. And so I get there and both men have their heads in the curtains because they're holding back emotion. And my grandmother's laying there and she goes, Bert. I said, Grandma, how you feeling? She goes, not good. My back hurts. And I said, well, what do you want me to do? She goes, would you rub it? And I went, yeah. And I go to rub her back and I'm looking at my dad and my uncle and they're looking at me going like, it's so, they don't have what I have that I can hold it together and give her comfort. And they're both looking at me. And then I said, Grandma, I think someone dropped a tissue behind you. So I'm breaking up a tissue behind your back. And she goes, that's my skin.
Oh,
and I watched my dad and my uncle just, he's like, he's rubbing the skin off her back. And they start laughing. And then I'm laughing. And we're all three laughing our asses off. And she goes, rub it harder. And my dad's like, he's going to rub it harder. He's going to rub it harder. The three of us are crying laughing.
Oh my gosh.
But even in that moment when my grandmother's dying, I remember saying, well, I'm a better comic. That'll be a bit. Like, I'm not ready for that now, and I'm not ready for it soon. But when I figure it out, like when my dad dies or something, like when, like it's got to be later.
Man, how can you tap into vulnerability though? Or is that a thing that...
Dude, I sit in vulnerability. I live in vulnerability. I put myself out there.
Sure.
So much.
But I mean emotionally. Are you able to sit in vulnerability without it being a joke at the same time?
I lay in vulnerability. I tell everyone everything about myself, every aspect of my life. I say everything on podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them everything. I tell them my wants, my wishes, what I like, I literally everything. And I hope that people are responsible with it and gentle. Some people aren't. Some people, take that as like you show a little bit of your neck and they go for it. And some people appreciate it. And they're like, yo, thanks for talking about what you're talking about. Thanks for talking about anxiety. Thanks for talking about your drinking. Thanks for talking about you and your wife's sex life. Thanks for talking about your shortcomings as a dad. I really appreciate that. Other people are like, yo, he's a dad. And he's just some alcoholic who tells the same story. You hear those and they hurt your feelings. And you go, I guess it's my fault. I've overshared. I've overshared. I've given them
ammunition.
I'm giving you ammunition to hurt me, and I have to live by that sword and die by that sword. I just know that when you do connect with someone, and maybe you take someone from a place that isn't so great to like a little bit better place by being open. And I know there's comics that have done that for me on podcasts. I know that they have. Rogan has. I know that that's invaluable, and so you just hope that you're flooding the market with good, and you're helping more people than you're helping. I don't know.
This is hilarious, man. I'm so glad you've been open and sharing today. You've got the Machine movie, which is out now, and people to go watch that. The Netflix special is hilarious. Razzle Dazzle. Make sure you guys check it out. If you want to see the sexiest man on stage shirtless, check it out. World tour coming up. You got all your podcasts. We'll have everything linked up. How can we, before I get to the final two questions, how can we be of best service to you today?
I don't know. Just I don't know. I don't know. I hope you like me. And that's the saddest part is like we talk about vulnerability. Is I just want people to like me. And so I hope you like me, and I hope you enjoy this conversation, or I hope you draw something from it. And I hope we made you laugh a couple times. And then if you like it, this is the rub.
Yeah.
If you liked it and you go, I wouldn't mind seeing more of that guy.
Absolutely.
Come see me live. That's what I do for a living. I do live comedy. That's my thing. I do live comedy. I'm on tour with Fully Loaded until mid-July. I'm on Tops Off World Tour from beginning of September till the end of December. I'll be touring the world again. Check out my specials and check out my movie and just see me live. That's the thing I do.
Where can they get tickets?
Go to BertBertBert.com. Go to BertBertBert.com. 3 Berts, B-E-R-T, because 4 would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Go to BertBertBert.com. You can get tickets. And
all the tour dates are there, everything.
All the tour dates. We've got a full stacked schedule for the fall. We've got my cruise. We've got Red Rocks coming up.
Wow.
And Fully Loaded, I'm bringing 26 comics out on the road with me. We're alternating dates and having a blast. Live comedy is really important. I think people, it's going into a moment, right? It's having a moment right now.
It's huge.
And I love it. I love it. The first time I saw it live, I was blown away, and I was like, this is the most amazing thing in the world.
This question I ask everyone at the end, it's a hypothetical scenario. Imagine it's your last day on Earth many years away.
So we're giving you a heads up.
Yes.
If you do not want to see a grown man cry, turn the show off. I'm telling you, I get really emotional. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I get really emotional, especially when you think about like towards your end of life or any of these things. I'm just giving everyone a heads up. Okay? Cut it off right now. Stop watching. And go watch some base jumping video. Oh my God, I'm stuck on
I've been thinking about the end of life. Yeah. Imagine you live as long as you want.
Ooh, I love this.
You live as long as you want.
This is a great question. I'm not crying now.
And you accomplish all your dreams.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I've already accomplished a lot of dreams I didn't know I'd have.
Right. But it's the last day, hypothetical scenario in the future. And for whatever reason, all the content you've created has to go to another place. It's not in this world anymore. It goes with you or it's erased or something, right? This conversation, all your specials, and everything you create from here to then, for whatever reason in this world is gone. So no one has access to your content or information anymore, but you get to leave behind 3 final lessons, 3 final truths that you would share with the world before you got to turn the lights off for your own life. What would be those 3 truths that you would leave behind to us?
The 3 truths would be life goes by way faster than you think. Slow down. That's number 1. There's no place in this world for hate. it doesn't serve you. Find love, find laughter, find happiness, and bathe in that. Get rid of that negative. It does not serve you.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be leave a mark. Leave a mark. Leave this world in a way that when you're gone, people think about you every now and then. I just drove by Buddy Hackett's house. It's where I blew out my tire. And I was still thinking about Buddy Hackett. Leave a mark. Leave a mark so people think about you. Not famous, but just people miss you. And they go, God, I wish he was still around. Leave a mark. Leave a mark. Yeah. Those are the 3 things.
That's beautiful, man. I want to acknowledge you, Bert, before I ask the final question, for your realness, your authenticity, for you being vulnerable, and also just being an incredible storyteller and bringing joy to the world. I think you're leaving a mark in a big way. I think your consistency over the last 2 decades of showing up and being of service to people in your unique way inspires people and brings them joy when they might be feeling bullied or hate or less than or whatever it might be. So I really acknowledge you for your gifts, your craft, and how you share it with the world.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. My final question is, what's your definition of greatness?
Ooh. Greatness is a silent trait. Ironic coming from me, it isn't one you have to tell people. It's something they just witness. They smell and they know. You know when you see it. You know when you see it. It's effortless. It's pure joy. And it's inspiring. And I think it's something we should all aspire to find our thing that makes us great. You don't need to be a comedian. You don't need to be a movie star. You don't need to be a rock star to acquire greatness. I grew up with a guy named Brad Radke, one of the best pitchers I've ever seen in my entire life, went on to play in the pros. He had greatness. You don't need to be that. You can just be great at being a dad. You can be great at being a PE coach. You can be great at being a baseball coach. You can be great at being a cop. You can be great at being a fireman. And you don't have to brag to anyone. It just shows up and people can sense it and they can see it and they can smell it. And then it inspires other people. And greatness is like true beauty. It's like the purest form of beauty. And it's so soft. And it sneaks up on you. And then when you're next to it, you're just like, God, you just want to stare at greatness. I've been lucky. I've been very lucky. To see greatness hit all over the spectrum. I've seen the greatest comic work. I've seen the greatest dad in the world, the greatest mom. I got the greatest wife in the world. I surround myself by greatness, hoping that it elevates me to just pretty good. But yeah, greatness is sexy, man. So sexy. Seek out that greatness and then surround yourself with greatness. It's so cool. But I really started quantifying gratitude and trying to be grounded in gratitude and place that gratitude and understand that anything from the outside is just stuff from the outside. And as far as mental health, I stay off all social media apps. Like I don't read comments, and I don't